We are going to move on to 18.4 work together now. Hopefully you guys read section 18.4 in your book. If you did not, I want you to shut this video off right now and I want you to read. This will help to connect the information. So it's very important that you guys are reading while I'm gone. The first thing that I did is, remember in 18.3, I had filled out that last line for 20x4. I do want you guys to go in and erase that if you copied that of what I did. I did screw up there, so I did that wrong, and I wasn't supposed to even fill that in yet. I jumped ahead. Okay, so erase that first. Now I'm going to look back in my directions on page 550 in my book, and it says for each of the following transactions completed in X4, you're going to journalize an entry for additional depreciation if it's needed. You're going to use page 11 of the general journal given. Source documents are abbreviated as follows: Memorandum M, Receipt R. So we're going to look at those two transactions and we are going to journalize those first. So I'm going to put this aside for right now, and I need to get out my general journal and my cash receipts journal, and this is page 37 in your workbook. My first transaction is on January 6th, and it says that we received cash for sale of our computer monitor, plant asset number 241, for $290. Now, that first part, it says that we received cash, so that should give us a big hint. What journal are we going to journalize that in? Hopefully you're saying our cash receipts journal. So I'm going to make a transaction, January 6th, and this was 20x4 that I'm selling it. How much cash am I receiving? I'm receiving $290, so I'm going to put that into my cash debit. Now, what am I going to credit? What I want you to think about is I'm going to take out my plant asset record that we use for my computer monitor, and we can see that the original cost of that plant asset was $560. Do we have this computer monitor anymore? No, we do not, because we are selling it. So can we have that asset listed as $560 anymore? No. So what we need to do here is we need to credit that account so it no longer has $560 listed as an asset. Okay, so I'm going to do store equipment as a credit for $560. Now, if I do that, do my debits and credits equal? They do not, because you will see that here my cash credit is for $290. So that does not equal. So I know that I have some other things that are going to play into what we're doing here. So the next thing that I need to look at is I need to look at how much that plant asset has depreciated. And so when I look at my plant asset record again, I can see that the accumulated depreciation of that plant asset was $300. And I need to make note of that as well, because when I sold that computer monitor, it wasn't worth $560 anymore. It was only worth $260. Okay, so I need to make note of that accumulated depreciation. So I'm going to do that right now. And I'm going to have to simplify because we don't have a lot of room to write here. And this was receipt 4. Okay, so I did accumulated depreciation store equipment, and I show here that my accumulated depreciation is $300, so that's what I'm going to debit here. Not 3,000, I want 300. Okay, so now my debits are $590, and so I also said that I'm going to need to credit my store equipment. because I don't have $560 worth of assets in there anymore. So I need to credit that $560. Now, do my debits equal credits? You should be saying no right now, because this was, we said $590 for debits, and my credit here is $560. So how much do I have extra? I should see that I need to have another $30 credit. And that $30 credit is going to be a gain that we have on plant assets. Now, I'm going to take this out again, and I'm going to look at this on my plant asset record sheet. Okay, we said that at the end of X3, the accumulated depreciation was $300, and we see that our ending book value is $260. So we're saying, okay, after we're done using this computer monitor for 3 years, it's only going to be worth $260 if we sell it. But how much did we sell that computer monitor for? We sold that computer monitor for $290. So therefore, we're making a profit of $30 from selling that computer monitor. And so that's why here we have that gain on plant assets of $30, because we sold it for more than it was worth when we were done with it. Okay. Okay, now the next thing that we are going to look at is our next transaction. It says on July 12th, we received cash for our sale of a notebook computer, plant asset number 242, $800. And it says memorandum 64 and also receipt 203. And so that's going to be our first hint. We have a receipt number, but we also have a memorandum number. So not only are we going to do something in our cash receipts journal, but we're also going to do something into our general journal, because we have 2 source documents here. So what we're looking at is, we're going to fill this part out now. We need to look at the dates, and the dates is what's making the difference here and why we have 2 transactions. Notice that we are selling this in 20X4, okay, so the year 20X4. When we look at our computer monitor, that did not affect us because it depreciated 20X3 for the full year, and then we sold it on January 6th. Okay, so that was a full year for that full 3 years. Okay. But when we look down here, we bought it on October 12th, 20X1, and we are selling it on July 12th of 20X4. So it does depreciate for part of that 20X4 year. So that's what we need to figure out here, is that it has depreciated some amount. Okay, so I'm going to get a little scratch piece of paper so that we can look at how much it depreciates here. And what I'm going to look at first is how much we originally paid for that notebook computer. We paid $2,750. Now, we also said, I'm going to scoot this over a little bit, we also said that when we're done using it, it's going to be worth $350. So I'm going to subtract from what I originally paid that $350 that I think it will be worth. Okay, so that means throughout the time that we own that notebook computer, it will depreciate $2,400 because we bought it at this price. And when we're done with it, it will be worth this price. So it's going to depreciate $2,400 throughout the time that we have it. Now we need to look at, well, how long do we think that we're going to have it? And so here my estimated useful life is 4 years. So I'm going to divide that depreciation that I have divided by 4. Okay, I should get $600. Now that should look familiar. Because that's what we figured out down here. Annual depreciation was $600. Okay. We are selling it during the middle of the year. Okay? So we need to take into account that it's only going to depreciate for a certain number of months, not for a full year. So that depreciation of 600 a year, we need to divide it by 12 months in a year. Okay, well, hopefully you got then $50. Okay. So that $50 means that it's going to depreciate $50 a month. Now, if we sold it in July and we bought it in October, I guess we don't need to look at when we bought it. We bought it in July of, or sold it in July of 20x4. How many months then will it depreciate for the year 20x4? Hopefully we are finding that it will depreciate for 6 months. Okay, so $50 a month that it depreciates times our 6 months, you should get $300. That means for that last year, that 24, it only depreciates $300. Okay, so new amount here then, accumulated depreciation is $1,600. And our ending then book value for that notebook computer should be $1,150. So we need to make a note of this additional depreciation, because we usually do that depreciation at the end of the fiscal period, but since we haven't journalized that transaction yet, we're selling this, we need to do that now. So I'm going to go back to my general journal. This is going to be June 12th. Now some of you might be saying, okay, why are we using June? Does it depreciate for the month of July? Hopefully you are saying no. The reason that it does not depreciate for the month of July is because of the date. It's July 12th, so it doesn't go through a full month or over half of the month. So it does depreciate. That's why I want to use June 12th here. No, I did that wrong. And the book has it wrong in the answer. That is supposed to be July. Okay, so scratch what I just said. That is just supposed to be July. Okay, anywho, we need to make account of that depreciation. Okay, so we've done these before. We're going to debit our depreciation expense, and this is office equipment. And we were M67. Our debit is $300. Okay, I'm getting that amount from that annual depreciation that we figured out here. And then I'm going to credit my accumulated depreciation. Office equipment for $300. Okay, so now once I've journalized that additional depreciation that I have for that year, now I can go in and I can record my cash receipt that I received. So this is July 12th. And how much cash am I receiving? I'm receiving $800. So for me, it's just easiest to write in that cash debit right away. Make sure you are writing it on the correct line. Okay, and now we have to go back and we're going to look at our plant asset record sheet again. Okay, so here's something that's going to help us. Last time we did it a different way, so we're going to look at it differently for this plant asset. We see that the ending value of that 20x4 year is $1,150. Did we receive that amount? No, we only received $800 for that office equipment. So instead of a gain like we had last time, we're going to have a loss this time. So we need to look at that. We need to also take it into account how much it's totally accumulated, the accumulated depreciation. Okay? So I'm just going to put that in first, just like we did up here. Accumulated depreciation. This time, remember, it's office equipment, not store equipment. I'm going to simplify. And this was receipt 203. Now, how much was the accumulated depreciation? When we look back at our plant asset record sheet, it shows us $1,600. So I'm going to debit for $1,600. Debits have to equal credits, and they don't right now. I only have debits here. Okay, so I need to look at, okay, what was my office equipment worth? My office equipment when I first bought it was $2,750. Okay, so I need to, instead of having that debit there, I need to credit it for $2,750. Remember though, we also are going to have a loss. Notice when we look up here, when we had a gain was a credit. What do you think a loss is going to be? A loss is going to be a debit, and we always want to list our debits before credits, so I'm going to write that first. Loss on plant asset. Now, even if I don't know what that loss is, that's okay. I'm going to just skip down, and my next one is going to be office equipment. And I need to, since right now my office equipment is at a debit of $2,750, I need to credit office equipment for $2,750 and get rid of that. We don't have it anymore. Now I'm going to find the difference between my debits and my credits. I should find that my difference is $350. That is my loss on my plant asset. If I look here, this is what it was worth. I only got $800 for it. That is a loss of $350 on that plant asset.